some women have to pretend, not because they choose to pretend, but because society makes them pretend. So, you know, now you are married, though. All these things that you're, all this your color hair, stop doing it.
It is quite extreme to say that you should not speak.
These last elections broke many marriages.
Keep quiet because I'm a submissive wife. You are pretending.
Sometimes you have to lose to win.
Thanks for staying with us. So it's Thursday and we'd like to discuss family, life, relationships, and just general life issues. So there was a video we saw on one of the blogs and it was about an evangelist Benita Okeke, according to the blog, who was offering advice to women that when your man is there, you shut up. You shouldn't be talking when men are talking, especially if you're married to the person. And she was on the pulpit and advising women, saying that she loves them so much, so she's giving them this advice. And of course, it generated quite a bit of conversation from social media. People were asking, some agreed with her, some were not in so much agreement, because there is that mantra that as a wife, you have to submit, and part of submission is being quiet, especially when your husband is speaking. And I think I've shared a story with you guys before of a family member, an aunt, when I was younger, when I was a teenager. She came to my house. She and her husband were having the conversation in my house with my dad, and everybody was there. I'm not too sure my dad was there, but there were a lot of people there, sharp. They were talking. And her husband was clearly saying rubbish, like total, complete, like he was saying something totally off the cuff. And I'm thinking, what? And she was there in agreement and smiling. And she's even very educated, more exposed. And I expected her to object, say, nah, sweetheart, it's not like that. She didn't say a word. She just kept quiet. And the guy was just talking rubbish and just jabbering nonsense. And after the whole meeting, everyone was going home. Now I called auntie, you know what your husband said is nonsense, right? Why didn't you say anything? So you understand when you get married. When you enter marriage, you understand. And today, they're still married, though. Yeah. So you can imagine a woman who has made a choice that keep quiet, even though he's talking nonsense. That is the code. That's how she was raised, and that's how a lot of women are raised. And that's what this woman is saying. Now, the question is, does that still, or should that still hold water today? That's our conversation. You can call us on numbers on your screen, 081 0764 1679 090 241 63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can retweet. I would love to hear from men. I would really like to hear from men, because it's one thing to say, how can you tell a woman to keep quiet? But men actually would rather you be quiet sometimes. So who would like to go first? Mariam?
Okay. So first of all, I think it's a bold message in 2024. Because for what I understand with a lot of our women today in Nigeria, this will rub a lot of people, the wrong way. And secondly, I find it rather ironic that she's on the pulpit, holding a mic and having the space to speak, and yet saying to people, quoting the Bible where it says, do not be in church speaking, you go home and you speak. So I expect that message to be coming from her home. So clearly, from what I've said, you just know that I don't agree with her. I don't agree with her because even the men, at least the men that I know and the men that I've associated with, and the fathers that I'm seeing raising daughters, they're encouraging them to speak up for themselves, to be confident, to have conversations. So we're not saying be rude and put your finger in someone's face or do not allow someone to speak, but is when the person speaks, you're allowed to speak as well. If the person expresses an opinion, you're allowed to express your own opinion. You're allowed to agree or disagree with your husband or your, the male partner that you have. And I find that there are men, in my own experience, appreciate that. That means they even know what it is that you're thinking. I don't know of the sort of arrangement that we have, like the modern day marriage that we have today, where we're doing nearly everything together. And then when it comes to important meetings, and I have been invited just as you, and I have been given a space and a position just like you at the table, and I'm not allowed to say anything. So I think that she looks quite young to me as well. I think that she needs also to sit down maybe with some other people and hear their thoughts as well. But I do not agree with her stance.
Okay, you want to jump in?
Yeah, of course. I think it is quite extreme to say that you should not speak while your husband is around. There is something to, as a wife, to partnering and supporting your husband. And part of that support would be to speak up and advise and encourage him when you need to. Yes, there has to be respect, and there has to be, I mean, I am extremely traditional, so I do believe in at least an element of submission when you're with your husband. But to the extent to say that I cannot speak, I mean, that is pushing it too far. And I think for her, where the problem is that she's on the pulpit. And, you know, this will...
Well.
Yeah, and, you know, this will give a lot of... it's going to put pressure on a lot of women who would listen to her. So, you know, as a wife, I think part of your duty really is to support your husband. And part of that support, you know, is for you to speak up when the need arises.
Let me come to you, Amaka, because how can we even fathom how a man thinks when a wife who is probably smarter than you is in a meeting with you, and she tries to, you feel in your mind she's taking the shine off you, because maybe it's the conversation, you're the head of the family, for example, of your family, and she's pitching in into the meetings of your family, and she has better ideas, and she's speaking, and then maybe you don't want to tell her to shut up, but because you're reading the body language of your siblings and everything, and thinking, why is your wife the one taking? And you're trying to pinch your wife, shut up, just keep quiet, let me handle this. Because some men, it's easy for us to say, don't shut me up. But some men actually feel intimidated. They feel like you're taking over, you're suppressing my own essence when you are speaking so much. Do you think therefore they might be valid in asking a woman to keep quiet?
Okay, so I would like to start from my own personal experience and how I was raised. So I was raised in a home where my father encouraged me to have an opinion, told me that my opinion mattered, you know, and then I should have a voice. And I believe, and I feel like in the African setting, for so long, women have been quiet. And now, being the time where women are beginning to speak, women are being encouraged to air their opinions, women are being encouraged to understand that their opinions and their voices matter. It is not a time where someone is telling women to shut up. I can understand where, like, if as a family, we go somewhere, we go to an event or go for an occasion, and the father, a male figure, a father is there. Usually you find out that everybody just waits for the father to lead, for the father to speak. I can understand that. But if a husband and wife, for example, is going for a meeting or they're going somewhere, I would assume that they must have had a conversation at home on what are we going to speak on? What are we agreeing on as a family? What is our opinion, our take on this particular subject matter? How are
Sometimes it doesn't happen like that, Amaka. Is it just impromptu?
Yeah, it's just impromptu, yeah. But then if, as a man, you're out with your wife and you say something, she has a right to not have the same opinion or agree with what you're saying. She's a complete human being.
But you should do that in public.
If you're having a conversation, like the way we're having a conversation, you have a different opinion, I have a different opinion. What is wrong in that? That's the same way as a man. When you go out, you have your opinion. Everyone, as far as you're not being rude, you're not being disrespectful, the same way I won't be disrespectful to you when I'm sharing my opinion. That's the same way. The person is a human being.
Let me come to you right here, because, I mean, I have shared this story before, you know, but let me hear your opinion first before I share my story.
I would have loved to interview her and ask her, what if it is the other way around? If the woman is talking, will he shut her up if he has a contrary opinion to her? Or if she's talking like your auntie, if it was your auntie talking rubbish, would the man say, hey, be quiet, you are talking rubbish? Or would he respect her and wait till they get home and say, Oga, auntie, what you are saying there? Because me, you know, the topic we treated on Tuesday when we said the women will now go to England and they will drive the woman out of the man out of the house. It starts from what we do here. Yeah. When your husband will be saying the thing that you don't agree with, you keep quiet because I'm a submissive wife. You are pretending. You are pretending, and when you now go to, when you jackpot, you will show your...
And we said that pretense is part of marriage, because sometimes pretense is part of... But let us not... Some people can say, I don't pretend. Some people, you have to pretend to do... And I'm choosing my words carefully. Some women have to pretend, not because they choose to pretend, but because society makes them pretend to say, you know what, now you are married though. All these things that you're doing, all this your color hair, stop doing it. You're now a married woman. Now, she now suppresses her love for green hair because she's married now, she has to look a certain way. So it's all pretending like I am this person, but this is who I really am. So we all somewhat kind of, maybe pretend it's too much a strong word, but we all kind of compromise. I don't use compromise because sometimes it's not a compromise, it's a total 360 from what you want.
Yes.
But the reason, I think I have a call up. Hello, good morning. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
You're live. I need the volume, please.
Yes, my name is Jide.
Hello,
I'm calling
Jide.
from
You're live. Thanks for calling.
Hear him.
Hello?
Go ahead. You're live.
Yes, I'm Jide. I'm calling from Otta. Like I said, this week, I'm a pastor. And in most cases, they use the Bible as an excuse to shut women up in a Christian gathering. In that Bible passage where Paul warned women against talking, it was because when I read the Bible commentary, it was in Corinth, and the women in Corinth were known for being cantankerous. So Paul was advising them to stop this their cantankerous nature. See, our God is not a confusion. When you look at the Bible, you see several women that were great men of God. There was Deborah, who was a judge in Israel. There was even Paul himself. Two of his daughters were described as evangelists. And I've forgotten the Bible passage now, pardon me. There was even another woman that Paul described as a fellow worker in the vineyard. So it is absolutely unbiblical to say that the women should keep quiet. That is from the religious perspective. Then from the cultural perspective, I think it's all this mentality of men is always right, men is the head of the house. If the men are the head, then who is the neck? Women should be allowed to talk. They have like Mariah said, in most cases, you might discover that the woman is even having better and better contributions to make. Thank you very much. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. So I know shutting up is, as you said, extreme. I like that word. But there are cases where your man expects you to not, I don't want to say disappear, but to somewhat just not so shine sometimes because he wants the floor. Yeah. So should women still take that cue when the man says, when you feel like, okay, let me just act like I'm here. I'm not here.
I mean, if I can come in here, I think sometimes the machismo ego, sometimes you as a woman, you really have to manage that. And I like the point that you made that I think to say pretend is probably not the right word. And I loved what the pastor said when he spoke about the neck and the head. Sometimes you have to lose or take a step back to win. And if the man wants to take a more active role, you can do that. He's the head, he or you the head. You as a woman are the neck. So basically you're the one who navigates the head. So sometimes I think what I often see with women in the household, sometimes, I don't know whether manipulative also is kind of a harsh word, but in your situation, you have to look to see how you can manage. Sometimes you have to lose to win. And like I said, often I've seen situations where those marriages...
In today's marriages, a lot of women don't want to lose anything. They feel like, I don't need to lose myself in any way. Let me go on a short break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I don't know whether manipulative is the right word, but sometimes these men...
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.